Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Madhava ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Shishimad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Shishimad, His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shishiguru and Shiguranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonum, Chapter 23, the Brahmana's Wives Blessed. Text 12 to 14. Text number 12. Nate yat om iti prochur naneti cha param tapa gopa nirasha pratyeta tatochu Krishna Ramayo. Translation. When the Brahmanas failed to reply even with a simple yes or no, O chastiser of the enemy, Parikshit, the cowherd boys returned disappointed to Krishna and Rama and reported this to them. Text number 13. Tat upakaranya bhagabham prahasya jagat ishvaraha vyajahara punargopam darshayam laukikim gatim. Translation. Hearing what happened, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, simply laughed. Then he again addressed the cowherd boys, showing them the way men act in this world. Purport. By laughing, Lord Krishna indicated to the cowherd boys that they need not be angry at the ritualistic brahmanas, but should understand that one who begs will often be refused. And text 14. Mangyapaya tapatnibhya sasankarshanamagatam dasyanti kaman annamva snigdhamayushitadiya mangyapaya tapatnibhyam sasankarshanan agatam dashyanti kaman annanvaha snigdhamayushitadiya mangyapaya tapatnibhya sasankarshanam agatam dasyanti kaman annanvaha snigdhamayushitadiya. Please chant. Man, me, Gyapayata. Please announce Patnibhyaha to the wives, Shashankarshanam, together with Lord Balaram, Agatam, arrived, Dashyanti, they will give, Kamam, as much as you desire, Anam, food, Vaha, to you, Snigdha, affectionate, Mai, in me, Ushitaha, residing, Dija, with their intelligence. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Krishna says, tell the wife of the Brahmanas that I have come here with Lord Sankarshan. They will give they will certainly give you all the food you want, for they are most affectionate towards me, and indeed, with their intelligence, reside in me alone. Purport. While physically the wives of the Brahmanas remain at home, within their minds they resided in the Supreme Lord Krishna because of intense affection for him. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the reason Lord Krishna did not have the cowherd boys tell the Brahmana's wife he was hungry is that he knew this would severely distress these devoted ladies. Simply out of affection for Lord Krishna, however, the wives will be happy to give all the food requested of them. They will not need their husband they will not heed their husband prohibitions, since they reside within the Lord through their transcendental intelligence. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha. Namo Vishpadaya Krishna Prasarvutale Srimate Ramapaswami. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda. Panchakalpatarubhyasha Kripa Sindhu Vyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, the pastimes of Lord Krishna are not only very attractive, but they're full of very deep and pertinent instructions for people in general. And especially this pastime is very significant to understand, because Krishna is making a point in his pastime. He is omniscient, so he knew that the Brahmanas were afflicted by the bodily concept of life and afflicted by the results of being identified with the moral goodness. And it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita that although the moral goodness is a springboard for advancing spiritually, there is a double-edged sword in the mode of goodness too, because it's a mode of nature. The mode of nature act in the conditioned souls and force them to think they're the doer and the enjoyer. So in the mode of goodness, if one is still afflicted by this bodily conception of life, then the symptom of a conditioned soul in this situation is pride. One becomes afflicted by pride, thinking that you are very advanced and better than others. It's the position of the Brahmanas. And therefore you look in a condescending way towards others. Sometimes as Western Vaishnavas, you experience that in certain parts of India. Specifically, I'm thinking of Jagannath Puri, when some of the Brahmanas, they look at you like, you know, you're inferior because of birth. And they can see they can see one, one is a small devotee, but when they see sometimes very sanely Western Vaishnavas and they're deride, I experienced that doing yatras in Jagannath Puri with my Guru Maharaj. You can see this mentality of pride. My Guru Maharaj narrates once that one of these Jagannath Puri Brahmanas was laughing at them and basically says that keep doing this chanting, that next life you can take birth in the land of India, and being able to take darshan of Jagannath. So, so there is the influence of pride usually afflict conditioned souls that are identifying with the mode of nature of goodness. Krishna knows that. And he wanted to teach a very important lesson. So therefore he sent the cowherd boys first to the brahmanas, to the ritualistic brahmanas, to show the truth. And you think about it, this was brahmanas who were living in Brajabhumi during the time of Krishna's pastimes, when they're trying that the whole, Gokula Vrindavan was manifested in full in this world. And Krishna was performing his pastime. Krishna's pastimes and Krishna's beauty in Vrindavan is irresistible. He attracts the heart of all living entities. It is explained. We just heard the narrations of the previous two chapters, especially when the gopis were glorifying the flute of Krishna. They were glorifying also Vrindavan, and how even all the different creatures of Vrindavan, they were completely taken by Krishna's beauty and fully attracted to Krishna. So even in the presence of Krishna, in his most intimate, beautiful, and attractive manifestation, brahmanas who were living in that Brajabhumi were not able to recognize him. So that's the power of this bodily identification. That even in the presence of Krishna, displaying all his opulence, you still don't see. You still don't see. You still can recognize him as the Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, so it's an important understanding that one have to be aware that one have to carefully follow the footsteps of the devotees of Krishna. In this case, Krishna is highlighting the cowherd boys and the wife of the brahmanas. In terms of the cowherd boys, there's so much to say. We have already heard so much about their love and devotion for Krishna. So as devotees of Krishna, then Krishna is showing us very important principles to be followed, following the footsteps of the cowherd boys. And within these instructions, Krishna says he's showing you how a man should act. What is that purport? Showing them the way men act in this world. So Krishna is explaining basically how a devotee should act in this world. So on Krishna's instruction, the cowherd boys went to beg. And without feeling ashamed, we hear about that, with enthusiasm and with full confidence on Krishna's protection and Krishna's service. And we hear that as they approach those who are begging, those who they will beg from, they do it with great respect and culture. So they were perfectly cultured. And now, Krishna is showing them that part of the whole package of going out is that sometimes you will get refused. And as you get refused, sometimes you may be insulted. But you should not become angry. You should not become angry at persons who are conditioned, because they're forced to act certain way. So we hear in the Bhagavad Gita, and specifically for us devotees of part of Srila Prabhupada's institution, the heart of Srila Prabhupada's institution is, and the purpose of Srila Prabhupada's institution is to bring the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya into the world. So Lord Chaitanya gave that same order, that every town and village should be reached by this message of Krishna. So he showed how Lord Chaitanya instructed both Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur to go door to door and tell people about Krishna. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Prana. Krishna is your life. Krishna is your mother, is your father. So take to Krishna. So that same instruction is given to each one of the members of the Sankirtan mission. We ought to actually share, to bring this Krishna consciousness to others. And as such, we have to actually follow these important instructions. We have to, with full confidence and enthusiasm, out and share with others. In some way, sharing with others, bringing Krishna consciousness to others. And there are so many ways devotees are using their intelligence to do that, according to their natures, according to their abilities. Then you do that. And while doing that, you do it with full confidence, without feeling mental or ashamed of this and that, all these different things, because it's on Krishna's order. And very important is that we have to always act in a very cultural and respectful manner. So that means that devotees have to use their intelligence to not agitate people. Sometimes, in our immature attempts to be part of the Sankirtan mission, we learn the hard way how to deal with different classes of people. You know, with the enthusiasm of sharing Krishna consciousness, sometimes we don't discriminate. But the preacher have to discriminate. And of course, because, you know, one of the symptoms of a Kanishta Adhikari is that you don't have this capacity of discriminating very refined. But we actually practice that, and we learn that. You learn to discriminate in a way that you present Krishna consciousness according to the people, and in a way that won't agitate them. So when we're out, either in Harinam or book distribution, we learn those principles very, very fast. Because we're exposed, we're doing it constantly. And sometimes you're in the face of people actually, you know, sometimes even abusing you and insulting, sometimes physically attacking you. Because my service was Harinam when I was in Brooklyn as a brahmachari. In many occasions, I just can't remember so many occasions. There was one time this drunken guy just spit in my face, you know? And but also, I was not very clever because I was, you know, okay, I'm fearless. So I'm just going, there's a whole bunch of drunken guys in Washington Square Park, and we're doing Harinam with the devotees there. Now, with me was a whole bunch of women and some other skinny devotees, you know. None of us were big, you know. And I have this sort of like fiery thing. I'm not a big guy, you know. I'm not a, you know, vicious fighter. But I, you know, show some like, you know, like ego thing, Spanish ego. And so there I go, you know, straight, you know, these people are approaching, and instead of me just like turning the Harinam around and then just going, avoiding these guys, I just, you know, keep going. And this guy just went into my face and is starting to scream things at me, and I'm thinking, actually the guy was smaller than me. I can beat this guy. But behind him, there was a whole bunch of drunken rednecks. And that was not a good idea. So I just ate my pride, and just this guy spit at me in my face because I didn't sort of budge. And then I keep going on the Harinam with whatever that stuff was there. No discrimination. You learn discrimination later, you know. So there's all this situation. There was another situation that we were in Brooklyn Mall chanting, and then all of a sudden I bang, someone just hit me right in my ear, punched me. Some guy. And then so I turned, and I was really upset and grabbed my kartos and just throw it at his head. People are watching this stuff, you know. So you have to control, because the whole idea is that we actually representing Krishna's, you know, Srila Prabhupada's and Krishna's movement. And therefore you have to discriminate. You have to develop the intelligence to understand. Sometimes we're given the intelligence too, we're given the instruction. Don't discriminate. When you're doing book distribution, Prabhupada will preach to them. You don't need to spend, you know, so much time talking to a particular person. You know, sometimes you discriminate. Sometimes you have someone that is extremely interested. But even then, you have to be very controlled. But sometimes you capture the typical things of Christians. And that they come with the, very an apparent openness and asking so many questions. And one, becomes enthusiastic and then start to blah, blah, the the body and the Bhagavad Gita and this and that and Lord Chaitanya and the personality of Godhead and, love of Godhead and this and that and, just like in the Bible, blah, blah, blah. And, you go on. Sincere souls are passing by and you engage enthusiastically with this guy and everything appears and he's nodding and you're like, oh, I'm doing something good. And after half an hour of going out with this guy, he say, well, if you ever feel that this is not doing it for you, you can always take shelter of Jesus. I will pray for you. So then you feel, I knew. I've been told about this, and you still do it. So you learn to discriminate. An expert devotee has this expertise of discriminate and act always in such a way that he will leave a perfect impression on the people that they approach or people that come across with them. An expert devotee is basically irresistible. No one can resist a perfect, an expert devotee. Because there's something about their expertise, their clear intelligence, and the way of dealing with different type of people that people actually become attracted to them. A great example is Srila Sanatana Goswami, Dhira Adhira. The Dhiras and the Adhiras. The ruffians and the knowledgeable people will be attracted to them. He will be very dear to both of them. So he knew how to deal with all classes of people. I always remember Srila Tamal Krishna Maharaj telling us the story how he dealt with Christians. There was one time that he had to fly from London to New York, and next to him was this Christian, Bible person. And then he took upon himself the task of saving Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And, you may imagine, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he is not a pushover. He's, heavy. But he's so expert. So then this guy spent the whole trip just preaching to Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj patiently and with great tolerance, he just responded to this guy by just saying, Amen. All glories to Lord Jesus. Praise the Lord. Just these phrases. Every time this guy finished some, and the Bible, blah, 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 and Jesus is the only way, and this whole thing. All glories to Lord Jesus. So, at one point, this person became fully, he had anything more to say. And then Maharaj, at that point, he offered him prashadam. Would you like a sweet? I have these wonderful milk sweets. So he offered him some Maha sweets. And this man was so taken by Maharaj and said, yes, yes. And he took, the sweets with great gusto. And then the trip continued. And at the end of the trip, he tells Maharaj, you're one of the best persons I ever met. Expert. And we hear that from Vaisheshika Prabhu, part of the whole thing, of the new training, you know, after the experience of, you know, the by hook or by crook that we used to be trained before. You know, you trick people to take the books. And sometimes they will be very upset when they figure it out that they got duped, you know. So that created some difficulties for the Sankirtan mission. But, you know, with experience and with the growth of the movement, then now there's so much training and focus on how to discriminate and how to address people in such a positive, respectful, and cultured way. And how, when you do it with expertise, how irresistible it is. People are completely taken. So that example the Cowherd Boys did. Now, is facing with the times that you become rejected, and sometimes in a way that is insulting Krishna. Get a job, you know, like type of thing, or you know, this is a cult. Sometimes, you know, we're being accused to be brainwashed. Cult. This is so bogus. There were some Christian groups that were specifically targeted towards Hinduism and specifically towards ISKCON back in New York. They have booklets that will tell about the deity worship, how, you know, this idol is demoniac, this idol worship. So you confront, sometimes we may confront that rejection, and then, you know, we become sad and sorrow. So that was the position of the Cowherd Boys. They came back to Krishna with sorrow to tell them about the rejections and the insult of the Brahmanas. They were concerned. They addressed Krishna first and Balaram afterwards, because they knew Balaram is going to be very angry. And indeed, Balaram was internally very angry about these Brahmanas insulting Krishna. But Balaram, our acharyas explained, he knew Krishna's intention, Krishna's purpose. So he remained silent, but he was not pleased. Krishna, however, he had no, you know, he was not offended. And he laughed. It is explained here. Parikshit Maharaj was offended. Our Acharyas tells in verse number 12 that the translation goes, when the Brahmanas failed to reply, even with a simple yes or no, they didn't say, yes, we'll give, or they didn't say, no, we will not give. They left it open because their thought was, these cowherds, they will receive something, we will give them something after the Brahmanas will eat. And that's addressing Krishna, basically, a cowherd. So that was the insult. So when to reply even with a simple yes or no, O chastisers of enemy. So Sukadev Goswami addressed Parikshit Maharaj as Parantapa. It's a word that also Krishna used for Arjuna. Chastiser of the enemy, because he actually was trying to pacify Parikshit Maharaj, who was really upset at hearing the insult that the Brahmanas were, directing at Krishna. That cowherd boy. The Brahmanas eat first. So after the Brahmanas eat, we'll send food. So then Krishna shows to all of them that one should not become angry. One should not become angry. That if you get refused, you continue. You continue because there's people who will not take, there's people who will take. So it's just part of the deal. You don't get to hang out on that. And book distribution is a perfect training for that, especially in New York, especially in one of the most toughest spots was Penn Station in New York. It was like a river of people going, and there you're in the middle of this river trying to stop them. And there just go like, a buffalo stampede, They just don't, the only thing that they see is that train door. And, it's difficult to stop people, but, we have to do it every day. But you find those Jews, that would take, they're ready for. So we should not become angry at that. The way Krishna is telling us how men act in this world, that if we're refused, we continue. We find someone else. We find someone else. And therefore, he said, go to the wives. Here's some of the comments of the Acharyas. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this verse. Krishna laughed because it was not proper to show anger towards the ignorant Brahmanas. He wanted to show that one who aspires for results should not become despondent, that one who begs should not give up. So you keep going. Srila Sanatana Goswami explains, very wonderfully. Srila Jiva Goswami also comments, but he basically just paraphrase what Srila Sanatana Goswami comments. Srila Sanatana Goswami, though the boys spoke to both of them, Balaram did not reply, since he was angry because of the offense to Krishna. Krishna alone answered. Krishna heard at close range, Upakarnya. The boys came close and spoke softly because they were aggrieved by the Brahmana's lack of respect. Or, he heard at close range so others would not be grieved by hearing. He laughed loudly when he heard the news, and at the great ignorance and pride of the Brahmanas, or to relieve the boys of sorrow. Though he was the Lord of the Brahmanas, Jagadishwar, he did not consider this an offense, because he was omniscient, Bhagavan. Was it their fault if they are bewildered by Maya? Or he was most merciful, Bhagavan. He thought that where begging from the men was unsuccessful, one could beg from their wives. Or he wanted to teach that for succeeding in bhakti, one must beg, and that it will not be without obstacles. Previously, immediately, on hearing of the hunger pains of the cowherds, he sent them to the ignorant Brahmanas, though he was omniscient. Later, on reflecting on the matter, he sent them to the wives. Or Materialistic dedicated to chanting the Vedas, or materialists dedicated to chanting the Vedas and performing sacrifice, end with pride and suffering, not with peace. And suffering, not with peace. Those without these faults are far superior. He taught this to the world by his interactions with the wives. Or he wanted to show the material principle that love for the Lord was stronger in women than in men. Thus, he sent them first to the men. And then we heard that as they approach the ladies, Krishna tells them that because Krishna knew that you have to approach him, but you have to approach him in a very sensitive way. You cannot say, Krishna is hungry, because they will be really disturbed. So he will say, Krishna just came with Balaram, and immediately they will provide. Because it is explained that Krishna says, they're most affectionate towards me, and indeed, with their intelligence, they reside in me alone. So this is the topmost position in Krishna consciousness, or in spiritual consciousness. When one becomes fully absorbed, that's the actual perfection of samadhi. When one mind is fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and one's intelligence is fully absorbed in Krishna. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. What is it? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. How's it go? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. I'm sick right now, and that Krishna say, always think of me with your mind fully focused on me. Manadusmara judyacha. Yes. Do your duties, but at the same time you will fully, with your mind fully absorbed on me. In that way you will obtain me without fail. So that's a position that we follow. So I stop here. Any comments or questions? Okay. Stop. You're thinking? You want to ask? Okay. Bring the mic.
It seems sort of interesting. You were highlighting the what Krishna was wishing to teach through this particular way of going about having the cowherd boys go and beg. It's interesting that the emphasis isn't on the result, getting the result. It's rather on going through the act of begging. Because, it's not an easy thing. So I was just reflecting that, putting the emphasis on that part of the action is, seems like, it's really drawing attention to internalizing a process rather than, looking outward. So I'm just reflecting.
Well, that's a core teaching of Sankirtan. Well, Krishna consciousness too. Krishna says we should not consider ourselves the doers. And we should not be focused on, success or failure. We should just do our duty, you know. So, if we are, and that's one of the first lessons a Sankirtan devotee learns, when you're too focused on results, you get smashed. So one have to take that whole thing, and the result is up to Krishna. So we connect, we're trying to connect regardless with Krishna's purpose. And Krishna's purpose is everyone gets the opportunity. And when we become expert, then, we're like a touchstone to people that are ruffians or people that are, advanced. They will be attracted. But in the case of, many of us, we just dutifully, just like the cowherd boys, go and then we learn. Don't be desponding about being rejected, Those results is up to Krishna. So, and then in general, when we start to tap into that area, it's wonderful. Anyone who had done, Sankirtan, when we tap into that in that space, then you start to feel that you become an instrument of Krishna's will and Krishna's plan, and that's a very, very powerful Krishna conscious experience, like that. 7.
It's an interesting point in purport. Prabhupada writes, if you don't get, when you go there, don't get angry, don't get upset, Krishna is saying to cowherd boys. And also you mentioned Sankirtan stories, when you go reach out outside, things won't work the way you are, just continue, don't get upset and so forth. I'm trying to correlate that aspect in my life. There is certain expectations when we live in the devotee community where you wanted to feel cared and affectionate from the person you seek guidance and so forth. And when you don't receive that, it's not their fault. They have their own nature, and then I have my own nature. And you feel very upset, angry, not cared internally. And you carry that impressions in your mind so much, so bewildering that your focus of life goal is hampered. And it's very tough to digest and process the fact and move on from there. It's been really challenged. Do you have any suggestions?
Well, it's not a simple thing to break free from the condition of the body and the modes of nature. There's a process for us devotees. There's a process of purification. And, in general, it's a gradual process. In general, for most of us, it's a gradual process that takes, going through systematically. And we'll see how, different conditions are becoming easily overcome. But there are some core conditions that are not easy, that are very, 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 very deep-rooted. And I don't know, when you do gardening, and you have one of those weeds that have deep roots, they're impossible to get out. I mean, you can pull out, and then you pull out, and then some piece of the root breaks and then comes out again. So, the getting rid of the stuff is not a simple task. Okay, it takes it takes some pain. So no pain, no gain. There's this say of, in the material world. We have to expect that to be here. Otherwise, we'll be pure devotees, So we're in the process of purification. And therefore, we cultivate this principle of tolerance. Krishna says, Dhiras tatra namuhyati. We tolerate. We go through and we tolerate. We have to understand realistically that, I'm afflicted. I'm afflicted by a particular condition, and I have to do the right things to be able to be free. And with certain conditions, it becomes like a hopeless case. It's part of our Vaishnava tradition too, hoping against hope. Srila Rupa Goswami tells us that mood of hoping against hope. So we know that Krishna is behind and Krishna is helping us. So part of the whole dealing with, the negative, Guru Maharaj has been speaking about negative emotions, and how one of the keys is acceptance of Krishna's hand, which is what Krishna is, showing the cowherd boys right now. And like he puts it, this is how men act. Which is, in one sense, we have to grow up. We do have to grow up. And you go to the drill. A man, a stoic, dutiful man, tolerates all the different difficulties and goes on with his duties, like that. So it's not that life becomes free from pain. Life is meant to be painful in this world, to kala jana sashvatam. So we tolerate. And what Krishna is leading us is the position that we fully take shelter of him. And we're in that process. We're in that process of saranagati, basically. Being able to fully take, Krishna is my maintainer, Krishna is my protector. I, give everything, my whole self to Krishna, and I will do only the things that are favorable and avoid the things that are non-favorable. And I always approach him with great humility. So that the whole process of saranagati is what we're going through. So we have to keep going. It's what it is. We have to get purified. Each one of us has a particular thing that we have to battle with. And we do it with the confidence that Krishna is very kind and he's behind the whole thing. We will break through. And, the whole Tate Nukampam verse, we just patiently wait for Krishna's mercy. It may take the rest of our life, but we just patiently wait. And Prabhupada say, if you just remain alive in Krishna consciousness, you become, to be the recipients of Krishna's mercy becomes your rightful, thing. So we just have to You don't give up, you tolerate, and you go through. You go on for the rest of your life. Trying to, embrace, refine your surrender to Krishna. That's what we're all doing.
Thank you, Prabhu, for reminding that acceptance is a key.
Yeah. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.